need more people to buy the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's your choice not to read it, but please buy. Okay, yeah, please buy like multiple copies. That's why I wrote it, and that's why I wrote two books. I mean, when the book started, I wanted to write a love story that charts two characters out for like a couple of decades, and that's where the idea came from. And of course, I had this in mind that they will keep. I mean, the time will never be right for them. They'll be right for each other, but they will change so drastically every 3 or 4 years that their love story will never sort of reach a conclusion. This is the basic idea that it started from. When I started writing the book, of course, it went on for I don't know 1,75,000 words, and it became untenable for it to be one book. And I realized that every time they take a time jump of like 4 or 5 years, I can stop the book there and make the second book starting from there. So I knew that it's a very long story, but I did not think that it will become this long and I'll have to split it down the middle. But I knew from the very beginning that it's going to be a long story because it's something that I have always wanted to write, to see. I mean, how long can you stretch your happily ever after, and when does it start, when does it end? So I wanted to sort of explore that. So I knew that it's going to be a slightly longish book.
Which brings me to the happily ever after. What, according to you, is the happily ever after? Do we ever have a happily ever after, or should it be a happily right now?
So I changed my mind on this multiple times, and the best thing about me is that because I've been writing since I was 21, where I wasn't even a fully functioning adult with formed thoughts. So my first book, so as I chart my books, I can sort of chart what I felt about love at that point in time. So when I was writing my first book, which was when I was 21, my book was named "Of Course I Love You Till I Find Someone Better." I mean, it tells you exactly what I was thinking. The second book was when I was 22, and I had just joined my first job, and I was like, now that you're rich, let's fall in love. My third book was She Broke Up, I Didn't, I Just Kissed Someone Else. I mean, and the titles keep getting worse. But, but, but then when I started growing up, I wrote books like Hold My Hand, and then when I fell in love, I was like, if it's not forever, it's not love. Then Till the Last Breath, and then it sort of I was firmly in the category of love should be eternal. But over the years, I realized that we put a little too much stress on the time duration of a love story, and I realized that just because a love story is short doesn't mean that it's not complete. And I still firmly, and this book is sort of a reflection of that, because every 4 years these characters meet, and they spend like 7 days together, and those 7 days are filled with love and possibility and hope. And it doesn't mean that it's that 7 days was not a complete love story in itself. So I mean, you put it well, that it's happily now. I mean, the time that you're spending now is what matters, and you can't like say that, okay, it's a 20-year-old long relationship and that's why it's a good relationship. So I've changed my mind. I mean, if you see me in 5 years, maybe I'll give you a different answer. But for now, this is my answer.
So in this book with Daksh, I can very clearly see shades of Durjoy, in the sense the parenting comes in. And that's not a typical romance hero. He's a young boy, he's forced to care for his sister. How much of you being a dad has influenced that entire character arc?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you tend to write about things that happen to you. So, my first daughter was born in 2016, and in my mind, uh, dads are uncles. But I also needed to write about this. So I wanted the parenting bit to come in, but I did not want the character to age. So I was like, what if this character is 19, and then, his mother gets pregnant, and now he has to care about a child. And so then he's 19 and he's taking care of a 1-year-old kid. So that was palatable to me, because that I can understand. That okay. So parenting is great, right? I mean, but it takes a lot out of you as well. It's very, it's unless you're a parent, you cannot effectively tell anyone, why did you do this? Right? It's very, I mean, on paper, it's very hard for you to convince someone that, okay, you're giving this child 16 hours of your day, and it is giving you happiness in very small packets, but those small packets of happiness are so intense that you will never come across that feeling in any other relationship. So it's very hard to articulate that, but I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it in a way that does not age my character a lot. So that's why I created this, and I've done this in 2 books, where there is a younger character, but he's taking care of a child, and I wanted to sort of write my experience with parenthood through that without aging the character.
Did you ever think it would alienate your readers in a certain way? Because that is not something that is part of their life experience right now, parenting. Did you think that they would find it hard to accept a lead character who is also a parent of sorts?
Earlier, I used to. So in 2008, my first book came out, and it sold a lot of copies. So in 2009, 2010, everything that I was writing was selling. So everyone in the publishing industry was sort of grappling with the thought that, why is this writer selling? Because A, the books were average-ish. Secondly, I did not have any writing background or any, sort of a profile of a writer who should be selling these many copies. So they started labeling my books in a certain way so that we could understand why these books are selling. So number one was that you're writing campus novels. So you're writing about young characters and you're selling to young people, so that's why your book is selling. Second is that you write about these 2 characters, Dev and Avantika. They were in the first book, they sold, and now you're continuing to write about them, and that's why they're selling. See that you're a horny writer writing about horny things that are happening to teenagers, and that's why people are buying your books. And fourth was that you keep these funky titles, Of Course I Love You Till I Find Someone Better, so it becomes easier for people to pick up these books. And fifth was that all your books are very relatable. And because I also did not know why my books were selling, I bought all of these reasons. I thought, okay, yeah, these guys have been in the industry for so long, so they must be right. But even as the criticism sort of kept mounting, I started feeling bad and came to a breaking point that, okay, let me write a book that does not adhere to any of these. So my 7th book was Till the Last Breath, which does not have a title or a subtitle. It did not have Dev and Avantika. It was not set in a college. I said, I will not write even one intimate scene in this book. And it will be set in the most boring setting ever, which is a hospital. So I took that as like an ego sort of a trip, and I wrote that book, and that book sold. Now, when that book sold, that was sort of a turning point for me, that I do not have to, and I was doing it. Before that, I was tailoring my books to an audience to sell those copies. But when that book worked, I realized that, okay, this gives me freedom. I can write about anything, because the main character, the main doctor of that book was 34 years old. And I was told, your audience is 18. Your audience is 18. So I wrote the character who was 34, and I was I think 24, 25. So that gave me a freedom that I do not have to write about my readers all the time and have that connect, okay, that I don't have to constantly whisper in the ears that I'm writing about you. No, I can write about anything. So post that, I've tried that in many books. So The Boy Who Loved, which is one of my highest selling books, is about a 15-year-old boy. The entire book is from 15 to 16, which is and the book is set in 2000. So that book is not relatable by any means. So I've given myself the freedom that now I can write anything.
That's lovely. I really like the character of Anchal. I mean, a lot of times you expect the lead, the female protagonist, to be a certain way, but Anchal is very unabashedly focused on her career, on her life, on the decisions she's taken, many of which caused issues in her relationship with Daksh. How did you build Anchal?
I think all my female characters are extremely driven and extremely independent, and because that's the kind of women that I have grown up around. I mean, I belong to a Bengali family, so in my family at least, all the decision making power, it rested with my sister, who was who was just 2.5 years elder to me, but all the major decisions were taken by, even when I called my parents and I told them that, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to pick up writing full time. So initially they were just about to burst out on me, say, how can you do this? You have studied for 6 years. But then my mom said, wait, and they cut the call. Then they called my sister. And my sister was working a corporate job for the last, I think, 4 5 years. They told, हाँ करने दो जो कर रहा है क्या? And then my parents go, oh, okay, it's fine. Do whatever you want to do. so 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 everything in my life, and I also like to lead a life where all my major decisions are taken by either my sister or my wife. So, so I, I mean, I have grown up around this. So for me to say that Achal is unabashed, I don't feel she's unabashed. She's just like any other driven guy friend of mine. That they will do whatever it takes to be successful, and they will sacrifice a lot of things for their career.
That's lovely. Now, you've been writing, I think, it's a total of 21 books now? 22? 22 books now. Is there something you've not written about that you want to write about?
I've written one thriller. I would like to write more. But writing thrillers in the Indian context, I find it very difficult to write because A, you cannot write a police procedural, because to mount a charismatic police officer in India is very, very hard, because we are used to Simba and Singham. And I mean, if I read a book where if it's a police procedural and a police guy is acting in honest, intelligent ways, it's immediately not relatable to me. I mean, this is not happening. So one is that problem. B is that when I was reading a lot of thrillers, it was all before the advent of cell phones, right? So now, and CCTVs. So now for me to think in a way that, okay, I will write this, but I have to navigate this CCTV cell phone problem, I have not found a way around it. So I did write a romantic thriller, but I would like to write one more. And I would like to write a fantasy novel, because I've grown up reading fantasy, but the problem with writing fantasy in India is that unless it harkens back to some mythological thing in India, it's very hard for you to sell it. To sell a new myth is very difficult.
And plus, the space is already quite populated, I think.
I don't think it's populated. I think every few years some writer will come in and write a great book, and I don't think it's populated. But I think just to build a world that's believable, it's very difficult.
From the time you started your first book, you wrote your first book when you were 21. Romance back then was pretty different from romance right now. We're in the age of apps. We are in the age of, I mean, I have learned from the friends who are considerably younger that there's an entire new lexicon of dating and romancing now, binging, ghosting, breadcrumbing, what have you. I'm sure you guys know it better than me. I'm a dinosaur in this. But how has your idea of romance changed, and how do you think technology has impacted love and romance for the better or for the worse?
I think we're moving towards a place that's better, because the way we were dating when we were in college, it was definitely not the way to go. Because when I was I did my college from 2004 to 2008. The chronology of a relationship back then was लड़के ने लड़की का नंबर निकाल लिया कहीं से. That was the first step. That has happened. That has mysteriously happened. No one knows how. And now they have started texting. Now they have texted for 3 months, and now they are meeting. Now they are meeting knowing that this is already a relationship. Because if they do not have the option to come back and say that, no, there was no vibe. No. You have been texting for 3 months. You have gone out in the public. People have seen you. Now it's a relationship. Now you got to hide it from parents for the next 20 years. So this is a chronology of a relationship. And even in that relationship, we had absolutely zero vocabulary. Either you're single, or you're committed, or it's complicated. And it's complicated it does not have the weight of, say, it's toxic. it's complicated is like it's complicated. You can solve stuff out over the next couple of weeks or couple of years. So we had absolutely no sense of where relationships are going, A, and we had no vocabulary to sort of define us. I mean, not labeling a relationship anything is also sort of a label which you have the luxury of saying that, okay, we are not labeling it anything. For us, it was either you're dating or you do not know this person. There is no middle ground. So, of course, so the vocabulary has increased. There are a lot more stages, so people can sort of slot themselves that, okay, this relationship is going here and here and here. And you have a lot of choice, which is both good and bad because, I mean, we present choice as something which is extremely bad, but we like choice in everything. When we go to a supermarket, we don't just want one thing, we want choices. The only argument against the supermarket analogy is that people are not products. So I'm on the fence on that what kind of choice is good and what kind of choice is bad. There is, of course, a lot of, again, not commoditizing people, but buyer's remorse. The minute you have a good date, you're like, can I get a better date? And because there is always options on your app, so you're constantly like, in the back of your mind, I'm sure it's going that, can this be better? Is this, am I missing out on something? But having said that, I think sooner or later we'll reach an equilibrium where, so a lot of these dating apps I hear are also falling out of favor. So people are like, nahi, nahi, ye Tinder acha nahi hai, Hinge acha nahi hai, Bumble acha, etc., etc. So sooner or later, I think we'll find an equilibrium where we reject a lot of things and we sort of hone in on that. Okay, these things are what works for us. I think it's a moment of change, and we will reach somewhere that will be definitely better than the dating that I experienced.
I'm into that. Let's hope so. There's something that you said in an interview. Now that I'm older, I find comfort in silences. And romance, of course, has changed. You're a married man now, you have children, there's a happily ever after that's happening. For you as a writer, how important is it to stay in touch with how the different kinds of romances are happening? This one that you said, there's silences now, there's conversations. So what are the various kinds of romances that you draw upon when you create your stories?
Firstly, I do not stand by anything that I say in interviews because I just go to an interview, say some stuff, and then I have and then when I read it later, I know this is not me. But I don't think that if you take my story, I don't think that my romance has transformed from being A to now it being B. I think in any relationship, different portions of us keep existing. Like, I have been married for like 7-8 years, and this is what we keep talking about. That is the ship of thesis thing. That the people that we I mean, when we got into a relationship, we were entirely different, and little by little, small parts of us, they have changed. And if we look back, we don't even recognize ourselves. That if I look back and say that 2016 Durjoy, I will say I have completely changed from this person, and now I've completely changed. And similarly, Avantika has completely changed over the last 8 years, and yet we find new reasons to love each other, which is to say that, the nature of love keeps on changing, but it's not to say that the older version of it does not exist amongst ourselves. So, like, just last week we went to a friend's wedding. We left our kids with our mom, and we went there. And for those 2 days, we were like the older versions of Durjoy and Avantika, where we were partying all night and getting up at like 2 in the afternoon. And we were like, yeah, this is what we were. And we can do this for 2 days, but we can't do this anymore. I mean, we can't do this for the next 6 months because there is so much trauma of the hangover that we went through. So it's not that just because now silences also have a lot of meaning and there is a lot of comfort in silences, that doesn't mean that we do not like to get smashed once every 3 months. So it keeps on changing, but I mean, different versions exist in ours.
Tell us about the influencer life. You've moved to Dubai. You've got a very substantial presence online. Does it feel at times like you're living in a glass bowl?
I've been a
Living in a glass bowl?
no. Firstly, I love influencer life. I love free stuff. I mean, when I mean, I I when I pay for a hotel in a holiday, it's great. But when it's free, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, and everything that they say about the influencer life, every one of those statements are true. Does an influencer life has disproportionate results compared to the efforts? Yes. Does it give you a lot of anxiety? Yes. Um, does it pay a lot more? Yes. Is it a very short-lived career? Yes. Everything that you hear about an influencer life is absolutely is absolutely true, and it's such a spoiled life that life soon it loses all meaning for you, because once you are given a free hotel room, that's incredible. You're like every other hotel that you go to, you're like, what is this peasant life? I cannot stay here. So okay. So this is buy my books, number one. Second, every time I'm selling something on the internet, please engage with it. It even if I'm selling diapers and if you don't have kids, when I grow up and I have kids, this is the diaper brand that I just engage. Okay, it gets me work.
Yeah, and it gets them into good hotel rooms free.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
So for me, it's when I create content, it's only very recently that I have started treating it like a creative endeavor. Before, so I have been on the internet for a really long time. So I was there when Orkut was there, when Facebook was there, when Instagram was there in its earlier version, and now in its newer version. Except Instagram newer version, every other version of me on the internet used it as a broadcast platform. Like, okay, I've written a book, please buy the book, or you have followed me because I'm a writer. Now I will show you what I eat. So I'm just, I mean, or look at my kid, she's so cute. So it's an announcement platform. It is, okay, welcome to my life, and this is what's happening. Now, post-COVID, what happened is that Instagram has now become an entertainment platform, that we do not care whether you're a writer. I have stumbled on your profile, ab naach ke dikha. So now,
make the reels.
yeah,
Make the
so
reels.
now you got to enter, I don't care if you're a writer, now you got to entertain me on this platform. So for the longest, I used to treat it at an arm's length, कि मैं कर तो रहा हूँ, but I don't believe in this. In fact, in the middle, I think last year, every campaign that I used to do, I know that this is very disingenuous, that I do not consume this, but I'm still selling this because I have this career as a writer and I want to protect it. So I'm earning money through this. I used to wear the same clothes in every influencer campaign as an inside joke with my followers, which I did not tell my followers, so I'm telling you now. That, see, this is, I'm selling my soul, okay, but please engage because this is getting me money. But in the last 6 months, I have now sort of recalibrated myself into thinking that, okay, this is also an art form. I mean, it's different, and it might take a little bit of rewiring of the brain for me to get it, but if you have seen the reels that now I do with voiceovers and etc. तो पहले ना मुझे लगता था, so I now what I do is I make reels on say stuff like aging, or what is it to have kids, or what is it to have your friends getting married. So earlier I used to think that whatever I want to say in this video, it is so basic that I should not say it. That this is a base level emotion. इसको मैं क्या क्यों बता रहा हूँ मैं? I mean, when I'm writing books that are like 300 pages long, which I would like to believe deals with more complex emotions, why am I? This is almost engagement farming, that I'm hitting at the lowest common denominator of emotions. But then I sort of realized that there is also an art of how to do it. Just because I'm going to say it doesn't mean that people will resonate with it. There is a certain way of doing it. And I'm still trying to treat it as such. I'm still trying, I've started doing it, and I started taking it seriously. So now, fall in love. I think an OTT really liked it, and they hired us to write the screenplay. And the TV show is very good. So when it comes out, it's going to come out probably in February or March. Please watch it.
Lovely. Now I'm going to throw the floor open to questions. Let's have the hands up. Is there somebody around to take the mic? A mic will come to you. Yeah. Can I have hands up? There's a hand here.
Hello, sir. I've been reading your books since I was in ninth grade, and right now I'm 21, where you wrote your first book. So the dynamics between you both were actually great. The tiki-taka was actually very good, between the questions and the answers. I want to ask one question. I am a writer as well. I don't have anything published, but I write in Instagram just for like mind relaxation. So, is there sometimes when you write your, read back your older works, do you feel like, did I write this? What was I even thinking of when I was writing this? Did you have that phase in your life?
All the time. You cannot pay me enough to read my older books. As I said, I mean, so when this second book was bought by this OTT platform and we were supposed to write the screenplay for it, they said, so I thought that I'll read it, me and my co-writer. We'll read it and then we'll figure out what stuff we can take from there. We read the book and we were like, everything is trash. We cannot take anything from this. So I have gone through this feeling a lot of times. So I have shifted publishers, and I shifted publishers after my, I think, sixth or my seventh book. So when the first six were about to get republished, I thought that I'll read those books and I will edit them a little bit. When I started reading them, oh my God, I edited them. Then after a couple of years, I thought that I will retweak them a little bit more. And I was like, this is an ongoing process. Every time I read my older books, I cannot go and edit everything out because, you know, and that's a good thing. It's a sign that that your skill is improving. That whatever you wrote back then was okay, but now now if you write something, it will be like better than what you wrote back then. So it's a good thing.
Hello, Durjoy. I would say that I started reading your books after coming across your Instagram profile, after watching Reina's baby videos. There was one thing I would like to say is thank you that kept up like most of our low days. It used to keep me like finishing your 10th grade, 12th grade board exams, career strain and everything. But Reina's videos used to help us a lot. Thank you for that. And one question I would like to ask is, कुछ रंग प्यार के ऐसे भी, like, can we expect any TV show like that after this?
I mean, maybe, but television has. I mean, no one watches television anymore, and television has gone from bad to worse. That everything that you write on television has to have supremely high amounts of drama. Kuch Rang Pyar Ke Aise Bhi was a show that was slightly different in the terms that it was more real. I don't think television has the scope for any other show like that, but maybe for OTT someday. Yeah, thank you.
And one more question. Did you know that Anchal is one of the most hated and loud character ever you've written? Like,
Absolutely, that's why it's on the title, worst, best girlfriend.
because a couple of us, like, who read your books, when we sat to discuss, there were a lot of points where we were like, why is she doing this? We're not like syncing with it, like, and typical Indian mindset, it doesn't match with Anchal's character, you know. So that was.
Yeah, I knew that it's and that's why I wrote the character, because I wanted extreme reactions. And a book is not supposed to make you feel nice. A book is supposed to make you feel things. And sometimes that feeling is very uncomfortable, and so it challenges that, okay, I don't think like this. How can a character think like this? That's why I hate this character. So,
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
We have a question there. Yeah.
Actually, I'm from Kolkata. I'll better speak in Hindi. You are the first writer. मैंने आपके बुक पढ़ के इंग्लिश नोवेल पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया था. तो फर्स्ट थिंग आर ऑलवेज स्पेशल. You are always special to me, and I already met you in this year also, Kolkata Literature Festival. So my question is, have you faced the writer's block, and how you deal with this?
Yeah, I have. And writer's block is, of course, a little inflated by writers themselves, because you will never hear a software coder say, I have a coding block and I can't code. But I have a very simple trick. So I don't know whether you guys have seen my work desk. So my work desk is a laptop, and there is a stack of books in front of me, and all of them are like decent writers. So every time I'm stuck somewhere. Writer's block is what? Writer's block is basically self-doubt, that whatever you're writing is not good enough. So every time I'm stuck, I pick one of those books out and I flip to a random page and start reading it. The minute I hit a bad sentence, and I'm like, this book also got published, so it's fine. It's okay to write bad sentences. I keep that back and I start writing. So that's a hack.
Can you give it to the gentleman in the red check shirt? His hand is up for a while.
Hi, Durjoy. I'm a massive fan of yours. And my question to you is, where do you draw your inspiration, like, to write the script for your reels? Like, recently you posted a reel where you had a dialogue that दोस्ती में इतनी understanding थी कि जब टूटी तब भी understand कर लिया. Like, what is your source of inspiration? Like, how do you even think such lines?
I mean, if I knew the exact source, I would write a reel every day. I don't know. And it's not as if when I wrote it, I knew that it's going to bang, right? I mean, you're writing whatever you feel like, and then half of writing is how your audience sort of interacts with that sentence. There's a lot of reels where I write stuff. I think that, oh, this is going to get picked up. This is really nice, and it just doesn't land. So
Lastly, I would just say, I just love you and just love your content. So
Thank you.
keep doing what you are doing. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Durjoy. I'm Shalini Hirumani, and I'm a big fan. So first of all, I want to thank you because in our hostel there were no mobiles allowed or anything during my degree days, and I've chosen that. So during those days, I have read your books like anything, and oh my God, I love your writing style and everything, and especially you who inspired, like your writings have inspired me to start writing and all. So I have started during my degree days, and I used to get much of appreciation from my seniors and everything. But then after some time, I couldn't write it. Okay, it's now completely have stopped. So now I feel like, was it the same Shalini who wrote all of that? And so I just want to ask you, what would you suggest such writers to how to continue and get back to it again? So yeah, this is my question.
I think, first of all, thank you.
Yeah,
And I think for me, I get the inspiration to write when I'm reading a lot. So the more I read, the more I want to write.
Thank you for saying that, Durjoy.
So
Yeah.
Please read.
Yeah. so because I mean, and that's always been the case for me. I mean, the minute I'm stuck like this, that okay, how am I supposed to write the next chapter? I realize that I've stopped reading. And the minute I start writing, I get itching. I'm like, why am I not creating stuff like this?
Yeah.
So my answer is just go back and read a lot.
I have a
Sorry you had your question. There are
Yeah.
many people. Can they
Okay.
have their chance? And that's just the last question. Sorry, guys. I've been told we're out of time. So just one last question.
Hi, Durjoy Datta. I'm your biggest fan. I've read every book of yours. But one of it is like very close to me. I just love it. The book is The Perfect Us. It's the most beautiful story which any writer could have thought of. But whenever I see your stories, where I see you, Avantika, Varya, and Raina, I always feel like somewhere the book or the story of The Perfect Us and your life is very connected. I just feel like the book's continuance is in your stories and everything. How close is that book for you, and how did you come up with that story? It's just very close to my heart. Whenever anyone asks for an Indian writer, the first book which I suggest is The Perfect Us by Durjoy Datta. And I have made many other readers of yours as well. So can you please tell me, how close is that book for you, and what does that mean for you?
So The Perfect Us, when I wrote The Perfect Us, my editor was like, let's not publish this book because you're writing about two people in their mid 30s trying to have a kid. This is not your audience. Please don't do it. So that is a so the fact that it has reached as many people as it has, I mean, it was a surprise to me and my publishers. I'm really happy about that. Secondly, it's the framework is the same. That Dave and Avantika, of course, at some points in time, they were inspired from me and Avantika. I mean, it's what could have been. If you put the same characters through extremely different scenarios, how would they have reacted? It's an exercise in what if. So nothing in the book is true, but I think we would have reacted in the same way the characters would have reacted in the book had the same sort of situations arose.
Exactly. You both resonate those two characters like perfectly. Perfect. And
So we
thank
might
you
be
so
the characters, but we are not the
Yeah.
situations are all fictional.
Thank you so much for all your books, and thank you so much for
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sorry, I have to wind it up. I know you have questions, but Durjoy is going to be signing books, and you can buy those books. Get it signed and ask him your questions there. Okay? Thanks, Durjoy, for this.
Thank
All
you.
the
Thank
best
you,
for
Kiran.
your
Thank you.
push.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.